Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm and you were watching What If Naruto Found Cypher Blade during Land of Wave Arc. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Not wasting no more time. Let's start the story.
Naruto exclaimed, "Damn it," as he swept out of the house where he and his group were staying. Naruto felt like smashing his face against a meat slicer because of the way things were going so far on Team 7's first C-rank mission to Wave Country. First of all, Tazuna was nothing more than patronizing and sniping at them whenever he had the chance until they were attacked by two Nuke Nin, whom he conveniently neglected to warn were pursuing him. They made the decision to continue the mission until a madman named Zabuza ambushed them once more. Zabuza was a former Anbu captain, a full Junin, and one of the 7 swordsmen of the Mist, and the Demon Brothers were already terrible enough. Sakura sat back and was essentially useless while Kakashi was able to match him blow for blow until he was caught in an entrapment jutsu. He and Sasuke attempted to fight but were both kicked in the ass. Kakashi was able to complete the fight because Naruto was able to immediately devise a plan to bust him out. Naruto had to use more chakra to create Kage Bunshin to carry Zabuza and set up a perimeter around them while Tazuna broke down and led them to his house to rest after a Kiryu Nin killed and dragged him away before Kakashi could seal his fate. When they arrived at the house, Tsunami, the old man's daughter, greeted them warmly. She led them to a room where they could rest Kakashi until dinner time. Meanwhile, Sakura swooned over Sasuke, he brooded, and Naruto decided to take a look around the house until he came across Inari, Tazuna's grandson. The boy made a terrible first impression by merely sneering at him before stomping off. Naruto's already declining mood worsened when his teammates abandoned him to carry Kakashi down alone when supper was ready. They arrived at the table, sat down, and Kakashi sighed, telling him to just let it go for the sake of the mission. Naruto assured Tazuna that they could manage it when he told them more about what had happened to their land and who was oppressing them during dinner that evening. Naruto's mood was already in the toilet when he fired back at Inari's sob story, which was directed at the ninja. "Shut up, you spoiled brat. Just like the Teme, always bitching and whining, thinking everyone should feel sorry for you when there's always someone else out there that had it worse. I'm sick of it," Naruto yelled with rage. He was aware of such individuals, including himself, but he never complained or even mentioned them naturally. Sasuke's cheerleader opened her pie hole, loudly, just as planned. She responded coldly, making Kakashi glower at her, but before he could address her, Naruto had already left. "Shut up, Naruto Baka. Never talk about Sasuke-kun like that. He lost his whole clan in one night. At least he isn't an orphan whose parents probably dumped you in the orphanage," she said. "I have never been so ashamed of any students I've had as I am of you two right now," Kakashi sighed. Sakura just watched him as Sasuke turned back to his meal and snorted in annoyance, "So we hurt the Dobi's feelings, he'll be back." Kakashi went back to eating, hoping Naruto would be okay, thinking, those two had better hope he comes back. Sensei would have skinned these two alive for this. Kakashi had nothing against Naruto. He recognized a lot of his old friend Obito in Naruto, who was generally laid back and amiable, if not a little overzealous about training ever since he turned into a ninja. If he continued at the pace he was setting, he was confident that, with the right direction, his guts, drive, and sheer determination would carry him farther than he could have ever dreamed. The council had ways of getting what they wanted, which meant that Sasuke would also get what he wanted, and they wanted him to concentrate only on the Uchiha. The copy Nin continued eating, which led us to where Naruto is now, in the forest. "Maybe I could ask Guy for help even if he's a complete lunatic. The way he trained that Lee kid into a taijutsu machine was nothing short of a miracle. I just hope Naruto doesn't pick up on their habits." Naruto muttered, "Stupid Teme, stupid Sakura," as he continued to walk, or would have, had he not stepped into an apparently endless sinkhole. Naruto screamed, "Holy crap," as he fell, thudding sickeningly to the bottom. For a short while, he lay there while his inner resident worked to put him back together and save his hide, and consequently its own. Once that agonizingly painful process was over, he slowly got to his feet and surveyed the abyss he had fallen into. Strangely, it appeared that some of the chasm walls were composed of metal, and a kunai was used to poke at them. He muttered as he moved forward, searching for a way back up. How weird. Before long, the rocky sections had stopped, and he was now moving down a hallway that was entirely made of metal, with lights turning on as he got closer. He just kept walking down the hallway in search of an exit because every door he saw was either stuck or had collapsed and been destroyed. He wandered for a few hours before carrying something in a case into an enclosed room. He went to investigate because it seemed intriguing. When he arrived, he discovered that it was a sword, but it wasn't the same as the ones the Anbu carried or even the one that the Zabuza freak had used to almost sever them. It appeared to have a simple hilt with blades on both sides, but it also had a second handle protruding from the side. Naruto touched the case to examine it more closely and thought, like those twirly weapons I saw the Uchiha police use. What were those things called? Tonfa? Yeah, kinda like those, but cooler. Unexpectedly, the case appeared to disassemble and retract, revealing the object inside. However, before he could grab it, a screen in front of him burst into life, revealing a man with brown hair and a red scarf that flowed around the lower portion of his face, resembling Kakashi. In addition, he wore a blue GI top, ninja sandals, and ninja pants that were taped at the ankles. He had muscle, too, but he was trim and fit. Naruto soon found himself observing this man in action, using the very blade in front of him with lethal efficiency to cut through metal objects like paper, executing incredible acrobatics, and traveling at speeds that made the Zabuza man appear to be motionless. For the young, inexperienced ninja who was still trying to find his place in the world, the sight was absolutely breathtaking. As the demonstration came to an end, a video message that resembled a last will and testament began to play. As he recounted the tragic story of the Strider's demise and the end of the world as they knew it, Hiryu explained, "To whomever found this place, I was known as Strider Hiryu. I was a ninja who stood up against evil and struck it down wherever it arose in the world alongside my fellow Striders, but we were betrayed by one of our own and the world fell into complete ruin. This being, who is only known as the Grand Master, had tried to subjugate their world by unleashing unidentified forces, but it went awry, and the Striders perished one by one while attempting to prevent these demons from destroying everything. The demons were eventually sealed away by Hiryu and a lone man known only as the Rikudo Sennin, but Hiryu was on the verge of death and the man died in the process. If you take up my old sword, the Cypher blade, you must swear to always stand up for justice and what your heart tells you is right. Bring honor to the Striders of old," the man begged as the image faded. "Wow," murmured Naruto. Although the young boy was amazed to be given such a weapon, he also vowed to uphold his new nindo and always fight for justice and what he believed to be right. He was moved by this man's plea, which appealed to the best aspects of his character. It seemed to click when he reflected on the injustice he had experienced in the village and the suffering the nation of Wave had endured at the hands of this Gadu creep. Additionally, he was aware that he was far from Hiryu's peak level and that if he ever wanted to accomplish his new objective, he would require significant assistance. If the entire world could possibly need Hokage, then he could wait, feeling light as a feather and cool and smooth in his hand. He reached for the blade and took hold of the hilt as he wondered how it worked. The sword started to vibrate softly and the blades briefly glowed a gentle yellow light. He tested the sword with a light swing and found it easy to cut the metal stand in half. Naruto exclaimed, "Cool, all I had to do was think about it," after figuring out how to switch the blades on and off. He attached the holster to himself after spotting the one that Hiryu had previously worn. The young Jinchuriki left to find a way out after securing his new weapon to his back. He searched for several more hours before discovering a passageway that led to a cliffside beneath a bluff that was now the location of Tazuna's village. There was a little ledge nearby, which was well concealed but gave him a means of climbing back up. As soon as he finished climbing back up, the path gave way behind him, guaranteeing that whatever was buried there would remain hidden from view. This was probably a better option, he sighed as he trudged home, taking care to keep Gadu's thugs from seeing him. The sun was just peeking over the horizon when he finally returned to Tazuna's house and was ready to slip into his room when he heard a voice. Kakashi said, "I'm glad to see you're back, Naruto. Feeling any better?" Searching for the right word, Naruto answered, "Yeah, I actually do. Kakashi-sensei, I feel like I know what I want to do with my life, like I had an AFIPer." Kakashi gave an epiphany. Naruto left it hanging, pointing to his stomach where the Kyuubi was sealed away. "Yeah, that thanks, sensei. I had one of those out on my walk last night. I was thinking about what that old fart Tazuna said about what happened here. I want to help people who can't help themselves, like I used to be. I just know what I want to do with my life and with Naruto. You have my utmost admiration. You want to use all that power for the greater good rather than for personal gain. Kushina-sama, Sandaime-sama, and Minato-sensei would be extremely proud of you. However, what's that on his back?" Gazing at the hilt protruding over his pupil's shoulder, Kakashi pondered. He asked, "Naruto, where did you find that?" With a tentative expression, Naruto finally broke down and told his sensei everything, including how it motivated him to take the vow he did. He asked, "Can I see it for a second?" Naruto nodded and gave him the sword, but as soon as he touched it, it emitted a startling electrical pulse. Kakashi pondered as he looked around the room and focused on his kunai pack by his side, pulling one out. It seems as if only you can use it. That's a very good thing. It means no one can use it against you, he said. He asked, "Let's try it out. Try cutting this kunai." Naruto nodded and made an attempt, but it was ineffective. As he concentrated on turning on the blade, Naruto mumbled, huh? That's not right, wait, I forgot to turn it on. He cut the kunai in half, barely touching it, the sword now humming softly with power for a moment. Kakashi gazed in awe at the smoking remnants of his kunai before turning back to face his pupil. After witnessing Naruto almost lop his own head off, Kakashi proposed, Naruto, we really need to teach you how to use that thing before you accidentally lop your own head off. The one-eyed Junin started considering what styles would be appropriate for such a strange weapon after Naruto switched it off and prevented Kakashi from having a severe heart attack. It resembles a tonfa with blades, it's a deadly one. Given that it appears to be versatile, a combination of ninja to and tonfa techniques might be effective for him. Since it is blunt when turned off, it is safe to train with. It also appears to react to his thoughts, enabling him to activate it as such. Additionally, I haven't yet explained to him the real advantages of the Kage Bunshin. He's probably one of the few people who can use it safely in the world. As the door opened and Sasuke and Sakura appeared unimpressed to see Naruto, the copy nin pondered, Kushina-sama, he definitely has your luck. You idiot. Where did you go last night and what's that stupid-looking toy you're playing with? She shrieked. Wanting to hide his new weapon from them, Naruto simply stated, nothing, just a toy. Naruto wanted to hide this from them, and Kakashi understood why they might even do something nefarious to obtain it, but they would only demand it from him. It would be preferable if they believed it to be a pointless toy. As he spoke to them all, Kakashi supported him by saying, it's an interesting one, thought. Now I wanted to tell you all about my suspicions about that nin we fought yesterday. I believe he is still alive. You see, Hunter nin are supposed to burn the body on the spot, but this one took the body with him. Any ideas why? He inquired. He could see them struggling to come up with an explanation, but Naruto responded after giving it some thought. That sneaky bastard that Hunter nin was working with him, a bait and switch, said Naruto. Sasuke scoffed and returned to his thoughts, saying, don't be an idiot, Dobi, there's no way that could happen. Yeah. Just shut up and let him think for a minute. Sakura glowered at him, Kakashi sighing in disgust. Sakura, I think you are the one that needs to shut your mouth. And Sasuke, Naruto was right on the money. I'd expect no less from Konoha's premier prankster, since tricks like this are right up his alley. Yes, that Hunter nin was likely a fake, Zabuza's accomplice hiding in plain sight to bail him out if things were too close for comfort. Kakashi spoke up and warned the other two pupils. Sakura whimpered, so Zabuza is still alive? With Naruto and Sasuke assisting him to his feet, Kakashi said, yes, he is, and he will be back. We will need to train in order to stand a chance against him and his accomplice once they do strike. So I will be teaching you all something new. Help me stand. Then he picked up a pair of crutches and made them accompany him to a nearby small clearing in the forest. Sasuke frowned and said, what are we doing here, Kakashi? I need to get stronger. His tone was one of condescension. He smiled plainly and stated, we will be learning to climb trees. Whatever, if you're not going to teach us anything, I'm leaving, Sasuke grumbled. Kakashi mock reprimanded, Sasuke-chan, before limping up the closest tree as though it were the most natural thing in the world. Kakashi mocked, I never said anything about being allowed to use your hands. Wow, just like Hiryu. Naruto exclaimed in awe of the achievement before posing a query. He said, how did you do that, sensei? I'm very glad you asked that, Naruto. Kakashi said warmly, outlining the exercise's mechanics while briefly removing Naruto from the group. Naruto, I know that your control is simply horrible, but that isn't your fault. For one, you have to fight the Kyuubi for control, and two, your stores are far greater than even my own, but being so young means you can't properly control your power yet. That said, I will tell you a secret about the Kage Bunshin. The experience every clone racks up will pass back to you once you dismiss them. This means, Kakashi hinted, allowing Naruto to figure out that. More to himself, Naruto questioned, Holy, I can use them for exercises like this, can't I? Kakashi sat on a stump to rest and said, yes, that's right, go ahead and give it a shot. Bunshin Kage. Beside him, 5 clones materialized, awaiting orders. The clones and the original started working on the exercise after being given their marching orders and explaining how Kakashi instructed them to do it. Sakura shouted from the top of her tree, what are you doing, you baka? Quit fooling around. As she addressed him, even though she had already finished the exercise, she was already worn out. You do have excellent control, but that's only due to your extremely small reserves. If how exhausted you are is any indicator after a short rest, you will be doing this for the remainder of the session to build up your reserves. So I would save any scathing remarks if I were you, Kakashi responded. As usual, Naruto kept working on the exercise, gradually learning how it worked because Sasuke was acting like an asshole and Sakura was acting like a royal bitch. At last, One of his clones achieved a significant breakthrough by reaching the summit of the tree and dispelling it, which provided Naruto with the exercise's key, getting a good running start. He pelted his way up the tree and completed the exercise naturally. The other two were offended for reasons we already know, and their responses were rather blunt. "Oi Dobi, how did you do that? Did that jutsu have something to do with it?" asked Sasuke. Naruto gave a brief explanation, saying, "Not really, it just helps me focus, that's all." Naruto sighed in relief that he had tricked Sasuke this time, and Sasuke responded with a snort. "Hey, figures Adobe, like you would need training wheels for everything." Kakashi was grinning as he observed the entire exchange. Naruto was far more intelligent than they could understand, and he knew that the cunning blonde would take advantage of their ignorance. As he watched Naruto sit on a stump and reflect for a few moments before turning to face him, Kakashi thought amusingly, he's definitely shaping up to be a far better shinobi than his teammates. "Hey sensei? Is there any other exercise like that?" he inquired. As he got up and led Naruto to the stream beside their training area, Kakashi said, "I'm glad you asked. I'm glad to see that you want to improve on an area that you're lacking in. Come with me for a moment and I'll show you the next step." Kakashi joked as he watched Naruto carefully apply what he had learned from tree climbing and step out onto the flowing water. Now the next level up from tree climbing is water walking. This is considerably harder, since the amount of chakra needed to stay afloat will vary constantly. You will need to feel it out, and once you have it figured out, you'll wonder how you went without it for so long. He slowly stepped out onto the water, and for a few steps, it seemed as though it was working, so he got bolder and paid for it. The water was extremely cold, and he fled as if he had been burned. As he summoned more clones to help him with the exercise, Naruto muttered to himself, "That was harder than I thought." Like with the tree climbing, he soon mastered it and was experimenting with this new ability by running and jumping on the water. Before Kakashi could respond, Naruto said, "Hey awesome, hey sensei, you think I could spar with my clones on the water?" Sakura reprimanded him, saying, "Don't be stupid, Naruto Baka. You can't spar with clones." Kakashi had a response for her. In his own scolding tone, Kakashi questioned, "Sakura, do you even know what jutsu Naruto's been using in front of you this whole time?" "It's just the regular bunshin, not like he has anything special," Sakura sighed. Kakashi responded, only to ensure that his fellow students understood that it wasn't the best idea to mess with him. "And you call yourself the top kunoichi? That's the Kage bunshin, a very special clone jutsu that's actually stronger than the Mizu bunshin Zabuza used." "What?" Sasuke stomped over to where they were and bellowed. Furious, "Give me that jutsu Dobi," he demanded. "Sasuke, that jutsu is something that even full Junin have to be careful with. If you split yourself too far, you will die. Naruto's reserves are some of the highest I've ever seen in anyone, and he's still young. High-cost jutsu like that are tailor-made for someone like him that can handle the extreme chakra costs of using it," Kakashi argued. Like an irate toddler who has been denied a toy, he snapped back, "I don't care. If that Dobi can do it, so can I." With his actual power to punish them looming over them, Kakashi explained, "As you are now, you would only get one clone and pass out if you're lucky. It's far too advanced for someone like you. But as for how Naruto got it, that is classified information and I will not discuss it further. If you try to get the answer from Naruto, you will be severely punished for breaking an A-rank secret." Sakura's threats were as baseless as her skills because her parents were merely civilians, though he would burn that bridge when he crossed it. Sasuke was the issue. He sighed, put them back to work, and came back to find Naruto attempting, with little to no success, to repel his clones with his new weapon. Kakashi said to Naruto, "Oi, Naruto, come over here for a moment." Naruto complied. He said, "What's up, sensei? Your form, we'll need to work on it, but after I recover and when we get home. Until then, I don't want you using your weapon." "What was it called again?" Kakashi asked. "Cipher blade, that's what it was called." "Yeah, the cipher. Again, unless the situation is critical, I want to train you with weapons myself so you can handle it safely and effectively. I also don't want Sasuke or Sakura seeing you train IWTH it or they will get suspicious." "Agreed?" Kakashi asked for. Naruto deflated somewhat, as was to be expected, but he realized what his sensei was discussing. He really didn't want to deal with the mess that would arise if they discovered that it was actually a weapon. As he returned to taijutsu sparring with his clones, Kakashi pointed out various issues and offered solutions. "Got it, sensei," he agreed. In a few hours, he learned more about taijutsu than he had during his entire stay at the academy. Rapidly approaching nightfall, Kakashi halted all training for the evening so they could rest and have dinner. If one could ignore the numerous insulting comments made about the blonde by his teammates in passing, dinner was a quiet affair. Naruto collapsed onto his sleeping bag after supper and wondered what his new nindo actually meant. His dream of becoming Hokage was now in jeopardy, and he would eventually have to decide between the welfare of his village and the welfare of the entire world. Am I capable of doing it? Give up my ambition to become Hokage? Can I actually prove to the world that I can help people with that damned fox's power? As he drifted into a restless slumber, Naruto's thoughts were filled with uncertainties and anxieties. Envision Naruto, he sat up as his eyes gradually opened and revealed nothing but white surrounding him. He tried to look around, thinking, where the hell am I? But when he turned around again, he saw the man who had inspired him, Strider Hiryu himself. Naruto sputtered and stammered, you're. As he examined Naruto's life and saw the very reason he wished to devote his life to this new cause, he remarked, so you were the one who vowed to take up my blade and oath. This boy has been tortured because he has one of the 9 demons, but he still has a lot of strength. Although he doubts himself, he appears to be a worthy successor if he is to develop and become the guardian he wants to be. He needs self-confidence, Hiryu reflected. Naruto yelled, what are you doing here? I thought you died a long time ago. Indeed I did, young Naruto. However, you found my final resting place and final message. You swore that you would uphold the honor of the Striders in your day and age. So I had to speak to you myself. However, I am not alone. 2 others wish to see you one more time. Hiryu said as he disappeared to reveal 2 additional individuals. One was his first idol, Yondaime, who was approaching him accompanied by a stunning woman with red hair. When Naruto shouted again, Yondaime-sama, what are you doing here? The 2 of them laughed. He has your voice and personality, Kushina Koi, he responded. But he has your looks on top of those adorable whisker marks. Etabane, I bet the girls wouldn't leave him alone. Like you, Minato Koi, she laughed. Naruto questioned, how do you know me? His mouth dropped when Minato said, of course we would know our own son Naruto. In complete surprise, the shorter blonde said, why you mean the Yondaime himself is my and she's my? With a wink, Kushina jumped in and gave her son her first embrace in 13 years since his birth. Yep, got it one, kiddo, she said. They investigated Minato's life and were horrified to learn that the village not only ignored his final request but also made a concerted effort to hurt and undermine their son. People like Iruka and Kakashi, the latter of whom jumped at the chance to teach Naruto even if it meant dealing with the Uchiha, were greatly appreciated by the 2. During his tenure, Minato attempted to eliminate the council's corruption, but the Sandaime and his family also made an effort to assist where they could. Hiyashi, an old friend, also made an attempt, but his enraged clan stopped him. The 2 parents were upset that Jiraiya had not been keeping watch over Naruto as he had promised. But Kakashi was filling in after hearing Naruto's vow and confession to Kakashi. They saw what he had discovered by accident. Despite their overwhelming pride in their son, they were aware of the internal struggle he was going through at the moment. My son, I know that being Hokage is your dream, and now you believe this new oath you swore will conflict with that. I'll give you a little father-to-son advice on that. The world is a much larger place and Konoha is just a small part of it. There will be people in need of you all over the world, so confining yourself to one place is a bit on the selfish side. Minato provided his son with guidance. Naruto stumbled out, but his mother shook her head. The village can take care of itself. Naru-chan, you promised that you would battle evil and injustice wherever you found it, to use your might to uphold the weak, your new blade to defend the helpless, Kushina said to him, her serious face turning playful. Minato added, I'm sure Kakashi will understand, as will Sarutobi. Naruto's confidence in his new objective grew. I hope that this has instilled you with a new sense of self-confidence and strengthened your resolve. Young ninja, I will always watch over you as you bring pride to all we have stood for, Hiryu said with pride, disappearing from view. As it faded entirely, his voice echoed, farewell until we meet again. Then he looked at his parents, who had just come out. Naruto begged them, why didn't anyone tell me? Son, we had many enemies inside our own village that would love to see you dead solely because you are my son. Add to that how many outside our village would love to get their hands on you. We asked Sarutobi and the rest to keep that from you to keep you safe until you could protect yourself, but you have grown so much I think you are ready. Ask Sarutobi for the special scroll that contains one of my special kunai, as well as your birth certificate and keys to our house. It's no mansion, but cozy enough he will know what you are talking about, and tell him Minato and Kushina told you to ask and about his secret drawer, according to Minato. As she released him, she told him tearfully, my baby, I am so proud of you, your father, and I will always love and watch over you. The 2 of them went back to whatever afterlife they had come from, and Naruto woke up from the dream. The dream felt so real that Naruto woke up with a start. He sensed their touch and their feelings, but he knew that they were all proud of him and the additional responsibility he chose to accept on his own initiative. His predecessor, Hiryu, wanted him to uphold their code of honor, and the blessings of his recently found parents only strengthened his determination. Hell, he was just glad to know about them and that they hadn't abandoned him. He didn't care who they were, there was only one thing left now. Naruto told himself, I need to get serious, as he prepared for another day of crucial training. His ironclad will once again showed through. Even though Sasuke and Sakura were hurling their typical taunts and insults at him, his face was a mask of unwavering resolve, and while everyone had woken up and come downstairs for breakfast, he ignored their remarks as he went about his meal, thanked Tsunami, and went outside to continue practicing the exercises Kakashi had taught him. The changes in his blonde student were almost immediately apparent to Kakashi himself. He appears more committed, dedicated, and focused. I believe that he accepted the sacrifices that this new objective would require of him. Excellent. He has already figured out the first step on his own as he finished his dinner and led the team out to complete training, Kakashi thought. Now, the real training can begin once I'm healed. That is, this cycle would continue for the next few days. After 4 days, finally, the week Kakashi had estimated Zabuza would take to return had passed, but there was still work to be done. Feeling that Gato might pose a threat to Tazuna's family, he left Naruto there to keep them safe while he dragged the other two to the bridge to keep an eye on them, especially after what they had done last time. Sasuke was already beginning to doubt Naruto's progress after the first day of using his new blade and calling, as well as the enigmatic item on his back that he insisted was merely a toy. He crept around until he discovered the strange object leaning against a tree stump and his blonde teammate diligently practicing his taijutsu, which Sasuke had to reluctantly admit was looking much better. Since the Dobi couldn't do anything about it, he chose to slip over and take a look for himself. If it turned out to be a weapon of some sort, he would simply have to claim it in the name of the Uchiha. His entire being exploded with pain as he reached out and grabbed the handle. An electric shock tore through his body, causing him to drop it. His shock turned into a burning rage, and he stomped over to where Naruto was training. He threw a brace of kunai at him, which he barely avoided. Dobi, what is that thing? I know it's not a toy, he yelled. Naruto responded, that's none of your business, Sasuke. His tone was firm and icy, something he had never done before, and it unnerved him a little. From behind a tree, Kakashi questioned, Sasuke, what excuse could you possibly give for attacking Naruto like that? He had been getting better quickly and could now move around without the crutches. Sakura piped up behind him, but Kakashi's withering glare silenced her. What is that thing he has? I demand to know, he demanded. That is none of your business, Sasuke. Now, answer my question, or there will be hell to pay for attacking a teammate on a mission. Kakashi sighed. According to the pampered boy, that weapon I want it now. The weapon has already told you that it doesn't want you. Take my advice and drop this now, Sasuke warned Kakashi. 2 days later, he attempted to steal it once more, but this time he had Sakura do it instead of him since they could not be trusted. Kakashi now had them go with him everywhere, which is how it came to be. When Kakashi, the two genin, and Tazuna reached the bridge, they discovered that Tazuna's entire workforce was down and out, either dead or dying. One man pointed into the dense fog as he saw them approaching. Before death took him, all he could scream was, D-Demon. As the mist dissipated to reveal Zabuza and his unidentified accomplice, Kakashi gave the order, Sasuke, Sakura, protect the client. Whatever you do, do not let him get close. With a slight change in focus, Zabuza said, it's very kind of you to bring the old fart here, Kakashi. It saves us the trouble of hunting him down. Zabuza commanded, Haku, do it. The masked nin followed instructions, but Sasuke stopped him. Oh ho, someone who might actually be a challenge to Haku. Have fun, Zabuza said with a sardonic laugh as he now focused on Kakashi. As he argued with Kakashi, Zabuza mused, so where were we last time? Oh yeah, I was about to kill you until that blonde brat got in the way. He's not here to save your hide this time, he grumbled. The home of Tazuna. Regarding that blonde brat, he was back at Tazuna's house, keeping an eye out for any trouble, when he heard a scream. Damn it, they got past me, he muttered as he hurled himself back toward the house with his new weapon in hand. When he silently leapt to the roof, he saw two of Gadu's goons hauling Tsunami and Inari from the house and hurling them to the ground while brandishing their swords. The shorter one with the bandana smirked. Not at all sorry, Gadu said. He wanted the woman, but didn't say anything about the brat. Sorry kid, looks like you're disposable. Tsunami vowed, I'll bite off my tongue if you hurt him. A corpse made a poor hostage, and she knew they needed one. The taller one with the eye patch and tattoos laughed ominously as they began to lead her away, leaving Inari speechless. TCH, fine, you're lucky brat, your mama saved your ass, but now hers belongs to Gadu-sama. With a little luck, maybe he'll give us a try with this sweet little number. Besides, those ninja at the bridge are being slaughtered by Zabuza by now. Naruto had had enough of hearing and seeing Naruto thought, "Bastards, looks like I'm needed," as he stooped to surprise the two by putting a kunai to their throats. Tsunami burst out, "Naruto-kun, thank you," and stood up again. As he ran toward the bridge, he commanded the two of them, "I need to get to the bridge, you two find a place to hide." Bridge unfinished. Sakura was unable to do anything but stand by and protect Tazuna as the battle continued back at the bridge. Even though Kakashi was with Zabuza, Sasuke's fight had already turned sour. Although he was talented, he was suffering because he misjudged his opponent. Haku possessed the rare sub-element bloodline known as Hyouden, which gave the user the ability to control ice as they pleased. The haughty Uchiha was being overpowered by this and unmatched speed. Sasuke did, however, manage to awaken his own bloodline, the Sharingan, in the middle of the battle and mount a limited but effective defense. Sasuke boasted, "Hey, now that I have these eyes, you've got no chance." Haku sneered and scuttled through a series of intricate seals. "Be careful with your overconfidence, Uchiha-san, it can cost you dearly." Haku issued a warning. Hyoutonhijutsu. Hyouusho Makio. Haku appeared to melt into the eye of crystalline ice mirrors that formed as the water vapor that was thick in the air solidified around them. After that, he launched a series of attacks on Sasuke, gradually weakening him with minor wounds until he was unable to fight anymore. As he prepared a final brace of senbon aimed at his heart, Haku calmly told him, "It looks as if our fun has ended. Uchiha-san, it is now time for you to die." Suddenly, a presence appeared behind him, slicing through the mirror with absurd ease and taking Haku with it. Naruto reached Sasuke, who was in poor condition and hardly conscious, and stared down at the sliced nin he had just killed, his third kill of the day, but he didn't have time to think about it. Naruto said, "Hey Teme, you alright?" Sasuke frowned when Naruto saved him, but he was too exhausted to speak, so Naruto just pulled him to Sakura and Tazuna's location. She exclaimed, "Naruto, is he alright?" Naruto told her, somewhat surprised that she wasn't yelling at him, "Yeah, he'll be fine, just a little beat up is all." She stopped him just as he was ready to go assist Kakashi. She gave him an honest, if somewhat forced, thank you, saying, "Thank you for saving him." As he fled to assist in repelling Zabuza, he responded, "I'll take what I can get, you're welcome." Zabuza was shocked by what he had just witnessed over with the Junin. Haku was taken aback by the blonde brat, who used an odd-looking sword to cut him and his mirror in half. Zabuza said cautiously, "Oi brat, what the hell is that thing?" But before anyone else could say anything else, there was a sharp rapping sound against the bridge's stone surface. Gato turned to his mercenaries and sneered at them, saying, "So you and your brat got beaten like a couple of whipped dogs. Good thing I never intended to pay you." Gato's thugs pounded the shinobi, yelling, "All right. Kill all of them, but bring me any females there might be and don't hurt them too much. I can sell a kunoichi for a good price." As he got ready to tackle Kakashi, Zabuza said, "Damn midget Kakashi, looks like we're not enemies anymore." Naruto said, "Sensei, what about Zabuza?" "Naruto, he is no longer a threat to our client since his broke their agreement right now. I need you to focus on protecting your teammates and the client. Take out any hostile that comes your way." Kakashi gave the order as the waves of thugs poured down on them. Remembering how he had witnessed Hiryu wield the sword, Naruto started to intercept hostiles that managed to get past them and start chopping them down like wheat. In an attempt to imitate his predecessor's movements and fighting style, he concentrated chakra into his legs and increased his speed to weave in and out of enemies' thongs, taking them out. But he was drawn to a scream behind him. Some infiltrated and prepared to murder Sakura and Tazuna. He hacked the blows apart, intercepting them with a speed even he was unaware he possessed. His expression remained fierce as he gazed down at her. "You okay?" he yelled over the roar of battle. She said, "Why yeah, thank you, Naruto." He was still killing any thug who came too close. Their numbers soon began to decline, leaving Gato and a few thugs alone. He shouted to his men, "What the hell is this? They're only 2 men and 1 brat," and they flinched. But that's Sharingan Kakashi and bloody Zabuza out there, and that kid's not human. We're getting slaughtered," the criminal screamed. As he and his remaining men boarded small boats and made their way back to the village, Gato gave the order, "Go retreat. Take everything you can from the village and kill anyone you see." More men flooded the bridge to stall them. Kakashi screamed, "Damn, he's trying to stall us," but Naruto had an answer. "I'll leave some clones here to guard the old fart while I go after him," said Naruto. Zabuza remarked, "Naruto, good idea. Get after them and don't let them escape." "Go," his sensei yelled. The nin without a brow remarked, "That blonde kid, hard to believe he's a genin." As they proceeded to eliminate the forces on the bridge, Kakashi responded, "He's full of surprises even to me, and I've known him his whole life." Naruto jumped out onto the water and started running them down. The archers tried to kill him, but the young genin was able to easily dodge them because of the rolling water and their own poor aim. He left a paper bomb on it and used his first swipe to destroy the first skiff. He then pursued Gato. Destroying the remaining threats, the little pig-like man cowered at Gato's feet as the rest of his protection was killed in a brief battle on the deck of the small skiff. The sight of this man filled Gato with disgust, and she begged, Please spare me. I can give you anything you want, anything." What would he do? Should he handle it himself or let him live to witness justice? Naruto contemplated in his mind. Using the distraction, Gato pulled a small gun from his sleeve and aimed it at the young ninja. The coward screamed, "Die!" As he fired, the evil little tyrant was given a slow and agonizing death when Naruto was caught off guard and managed to dodge a shot to his heart, only allowing it to hit his shoulder. He then slashed out with a knife that had been dropped on the deck, slicing open his throat. Naruto started to pull the boat back to the bridge, but it wasn't very effective because Naruto caught them pretty quickly. "Damn it!" he moaned. His wound burning more than anything, it took him a few more moments to drag the skiff to a small pier beneath the bridge and then climb back up to report to his sensei, who had just killed the last of the thugs with a mortally wounded Zabuza. As they attended to Zabuza, who had passed out from blood loss and was not expected to live much longer, Kakashi gasped, "Good job, Naruto, good." The two shinobi nodded and followed his instructions. "Hey, drag me over to where Haku is," he said. With tears in his eyes and a regretful voice, Zabuza bemoaned, "Haku, I know I promised to turn Kiri into a place where people like you can be free. Looks like I failed." Zabuza questioned Naruto, "You Gaki, you have a nindo yet?" The young blonde told him his nindo and said, "Why yeah." With his time running out, Zabuza exclaimed, "Very naive, but it's pretty noble. If there were more like you in this world, what happened in Kiri wouldn't have happened. I want you to take my sword. I have no brats to pass this on to. Haku is already gone, but I want you to promise me that you will help liberate Kiri one day." Zabuza begged him to do so. It was a very serious moment. The final desire of a shinobi. Zabuza was a member of the renowned Seven Swordsmen, according to Kakashi, and his blade was well known worldwide. This was a great honor. No doubt about it. He turned to face Kakashi, who gave him a nod. Naruto swore, causing the stunned Junin to relax, "I promise." Zabuza closed his eyes for the final time, passing away peacefully, and sighed, "I hope Haku went to a better place than me." Naruto questioned, "Sensei, what happened in Kiri?" Kakashi grimly explained to Naruto the vile and obscene history of Kiri and the bloodline purges that Zabuza disclosed he was attempting to halt, adding, "There are very good reasons why Kiri is called the Bloody Mist." As they prepared the blade for transportation, Naruto summed up, "So he became a missing nin to fight for what he believed was right. Zabuza was a hero in that regard." Kakashi warned him, allowing it to sink in as they walked back to where their client and the rest of the team were at the time. Heroes aren't heroes to everyone. That's one truth that you needed to learn if you want to continue. Be aware that doing the right thing can also make enemies of those who were allies. Kakashi inquired, "Sakura, how are Sasuke and our client?" "Tazuna-san isn't hurt. I'm okay, and Sasuke-kun is unconscious, but Naruto said he was okay," she replied. Both Kakashi and Naruto were shocked that she hadn't already begun the insults. It appears that she was sufficiently awakened by the harsh realities of life. Kakashi hoped that she would get better from now on and that Sasuke would follow. He hoped that they would be brought together by the shock of this mission. Sakura was starting to realize what was going on. Kakashi turned to Naruto and said, "Yeah, he should be fine, but we need to get him back to a bed to rest." As the blonde genin followed them back to Tazuna's place, Kakashi said to him, "Can you make some clones and bury them? They deserve better than to rot out here." The home of Tazuna, the weight of the lives he had taken was gradually weighing down on him as they made their way back, and by the time they arrived, Naruto had to abruptly stop. Kakashi worriedly questioned, "What's wrong, Naruto?" The young blonde appeared on the verge of getting sick. "I just don't feel very good," Naruto stumbled as he ducked into a bush and threw away his breakfast from that morning. Sakura inquired, displaying some concern as well, "What happened, sensei? Is he alright?" She had given her treatment of the blonde some thought since Naruto had saved them on the bridge. "He saved both Sasuke-kun's and my lives, so he deserves better than that from me. Furthermore, he has undergone significant change. He seems like a completely different person." "Sakura, when anyone makes their first kill, it's always hard. Taking another's life is no laughing or small matter, no matter who you are. The fact that he is feeling remorse or guilt over this says a lot about him, that he genuinely regrets what he's done. but he will have to get over it if he wants to continue being a shinobi. Shinobi will have to kill to survive. It's the way of the world we're in, Sakura. Once you make yours, my door is open just like it is for all of you. Kakashi told her as he checked on her. Naruto was speaking. Kakashi said, "You feeling alright?" To him Naruto shuddered and started to cry, saying, "I killed them. I could have at least taken Gato alive so he could pay for what he's done." Kakashi told him firmly, but with genuine compassion and understanding because he had been in his position before. He said, "Listen to me and listen good. Killing is something that will happen. You will face many enemies out there, ninja or otherwise, that will not stop until you have killed them. The fact that you feel anything at all is a good sign. The moment you become numb to killing, you're nothing more than the monster those ignorant villagers claim you to be. Prove them wrong, and don't worry, I'll be your sensei until you no longer need me, and maybe beyond that. Understand me?" After catching his breath, Naruto exclaimed, "Why yeah, thanks, sensei." After slowly getting back up and entering, Sakura gave him a glass of water to sip. As he took it slowly, she said, "Here, this should help you feel a little better." He said, "Thanks," but paused for a moment. "Hey Sakura, why are you being nice to me all of a sudden?" "Not that I mind, it's just a little strange," Naruto responded. "Well, the past few days, I've been thinking Kakashi yelled at us for the way we were acting toward you, and it made me wonder why we hated you so much. I remembered that my mom really hated you for some reason but wouldn't tell me, and I guess I just started to too, but you saved my life out there then. You felt bad about those kills you made, and Kakashi-sensei explained things to me that settled things for me. You can't bad as my mom says if you saved our lives like that." She rationalizes, making sense as she bows to him. She formally apologized to him, saying, "For what it's worth, I'm sorry I was always so mean to you. I swear I'll treat you better from now on." He answered with a question of his own. "I just need to know one thing. This apology will last beyond Sasuke waking up and you fangirling over him, will it?" Sakura was aware that she couldn't be angry with him for that. She frequently mistreated him in an attempt to win Sasuke's favor. "I'll give it an honest effort. If I slip, remind me, okay?" he replied. He answered her, "That's fair enough. I accept your apology." She said, "Think we could start over?" As they started talking while they were sleeping, he replied, "Sure." Kakashi smiled as he overheard the entire conversation. Though he wasn't the only one observing them, Kakashi thought, "My team is starting to pull together now. All Sasuke needs is a push in the right direction and lose that arrogance and sense of entitlement. Young Naruto, you have overcome your first trial, but I am afraid that this is only the first of many yet to come. You dispensed justice in a fitting manner with my cipher, as well as protect your comrades while we fought for justice. Striders were certainly not saints. We did kill out targets, after all. However, for now, good work," the ghostly figure said before completely disappearing. It had been a week since the battle at the bridge, where Wave's self-proclaimed tyrant and tormentor was ultimately killed and his mercenary force destroyed. The villagers initially thought Gato was still alive and that he was just playing a cruel trick on them. They didn't truly relax until Kakashi showed them the repulsive little pig's corpse and the women and girls who had been released. The bridge's construction resumed and was soon finished, linking them to the mainland and bringing new life to the destitute country. Tazuna was selected by the populace as the new leader because of his actions in enlisting the ninja and constructing the bridge. Regarding the ninja, Sasuke needed a few days to recover from his wounds, but he was back to his feet in 3 days. But after he recovered, he was constantly arguing with Naruto about how he defeated Haku, the enemy nin who tore him to pieces, even though he was unable to do it with his Sharingan. Naruto attempted to downplay it, but he wouldn't have it that way. "I just got lucky and caught him from behind, that's all. I bet it was that weapon. Give it to me. I can put it to much better use than you," asked Sasuke. Naruto sighed as he explained for what felt like the 100th time, "You just don't learn. Teme, the last time you tried to touch it, it shocked you. This thing only sees me as its owner, so no dice." Sakura watched from a distance as everything happened. Now that she stepped back and saw the situation for what it was, she saw that Sasuke was trying to take something that would never belong to him. A week ago, Sakura would have been screaming and yelling for Sasuke to get what he wanted, but her recent way of thinking made her rethink how the outside world actually saw her, and it wasn't a good one. While many, including her former best friend, viewed her as a raving bitch, Naruto and Kakashi saw her as a fervent fangirl who fawned over the Uchiha to the exclusion of everything else. She then recalled her pledge to Naruto to start treating him better and, for once, hear his side of the story. As she watched now that she was doing that, she could see that her crush's generally sour attitude was the root of many of the team's debilitating issues. Sakura attempted to step in and hopefully calm him down by saying, "Sasuke-kun, that really does belong to him." His words were, "Shut up, you useless fangirl," as he pushed her away. When Kakashi noticed the argument, Naruto retorted, "Hey, she didn't do anything, Teme." What are you yelling at her for? As a test to see if Sakura would keep her word, he demanded to know, what is going on here, and looked to her for an explanation. With a nod from Kakashi, she responded, well, Sasuke-kun is kind of angry at Naruto for saving him and now he wants that thing on Naruto's back, but didn't Naruto find it somewhere? Doesn't that make it Naruto's? Kakashi reprimanded, the final Uchiha's frown widening as he strode off. That's right, Sakura Naruto found it fair and square, so it belongs to him and Sasuke has no right to demand things from anyone. Furthermore, Naruto saved your life, Sasuke, and made sure you lived to fight another day, so I would be a little more grateful. With a heavy sigh, he turned to face the other two and said, that boy. Sakura, I just wanted to say that I'm proud of you for telling the truth, he said to her. Well, I did promise Naruto that I'd treat him better from now on, she responded. As they sat down to dinner, Kakashi said in a mysterious way, and you made good on it, he needs friends. Sakura, all the friends he can get. Now that Wave, the ninja, and Naruto in particular were seen as heroes for their actions, it was time for them to go. They regarded him as unique since he took Gadu's life on his own. As Sakura drove home, she reflected on the mysterious words Kakashi had used to describe Naruto's dire need for trustworthy friends. Subsequently, she reflected on his treatment in the village, how many adults gazed at him with disgust and others with anger when Iruka-sensei, Kakashi-sensei, Sandaime-sama, and the other rookie-sensei attempted to assist him. She questioned why they all behaved in such a manner when Ino's parents and her own father disparaged the little blonde. They all appeared depressed. Are they privy to information about him that others are not? However, why won't they speak up? With a lot of questions for her father and Iruka-sensei, she pondered whether she could locate him. As he reflected on the speech Kakashi had given him about having to kill, Naruto was searching his own soul. The people he had killed made him feel even more disgusted than he did at himself for taking those lives so easily. He realized that more people would have suffered if he hadn't killed them and allowed them to slither away. All right, Naruto swore as they went on, I'll only kill as a last resort, when I have no other option. Sasuke's self-perception as an unbeatable ninja had been destroyed by this mission, but he was preoccupied with his own melancholy and dark thoughts. There were plenty of ninja out there who could easily kill him even with his Sharingan. Haku had him beaten, but Naruto caught him off guard and killed him in a single blow. Another sensitive topic was raised by that. Naruto's new weapon, which he discovered in the forest. Someone like me should own a weapon like that. I must have it somehow, he thought to himself as he plodded on. That Dobi would only waste it and probably kill himself with it, while I could use it to avenge my clan and kill Itachi. Kakashi had to reflect on and examine parts of this recent mission. At least 2 of his genin were banding together, but he told himself that it was a bad idea to bring them on this mission. Naruto had made significant progress in both his maturity and skill set. Although there were still some charming aspects of the previous Naruto, he was motivated to improve himself by this new course he had chosen for himself. His actions ensured that Wave would never again be subjected to Gadu's oppression, and his help on the bridge was invaluable. Once the most infamous fangirl he had ever seen, Sakura appeared to have been completely destroyed by this mission. She had stepped back, reassessed her approach, and was shocked to discover that she wasn't a particularly good person. She only focused on Sasuke, ignoring everything else, including her training and the harsh reality. All I have to do now is shatter Sasuke, but how? And without my head being pursued by the council? The Junin guessed that the brat needed tough love rather than coddling. Konoha, they had been on their mission for nearly a month, and now they were at last home, entering Konoha through the gates as Kakashi checked them in with the gatekeepers. Once they had completed that formality, they proceeded through the actual village until they arrived at Hokage Tower. Then he turned to his teammates. Kakashi had other reasons for bringing the young blonde along, but he explained, I can take it from here, kids, but Naruto, I'll be needing you to come with me since you made the kill on Gadu. Sasuke cackled, TCH fine, I'm outta here, and strode off. Sakura was tempted to chase after him, but she needed the answers to a lot of the questions she was having from this mission as soon as possible. She said, when do we meet next, sensei? As he and Naruto entered the building, Kakashi told her, at least you bothered to ask. We'll meet again in 3 days. You all earned the downtime, but use it wisely. As she headed home, she whispered to herself, now I hope my dad's home and not my mom. Hokage Tower. The Junin and Genin encountered some familiar faces, including Kurenai and Asuma's teams, as they ascended the stairs leading to Sarutobi's office. Asuma asked, so I hear you guys went on a C rank, how did that go? I'll admit that this has my curiosity as well. I've been thinking about getting my team 1, said Kurenai. Well, Kakashi began the story by omitting a few small details that only they and the Hokage knew. but they were quite pleased with Team 7's performance on an upgraded mission when they learned how Naruto did on the mission. Their surprise was completely blown away. Well, looks like test scores aren't the best way to measure ability in our line of work, like I've told those old farts on the council for years. Thanks for proving my point, kiddo. Asuma cracked a grin. That was very shocking, to say the least. However, Naruto is now a bloodied ninja. Like the rest of us, that is a large milestone in any nin's career, said Kurenai. The copy ninja refused to listen to Ino's question. Wait a minute, the Dobi made his first kills before Sasuke-kun? Are you sure about that? Yes, he did. Yamanaka-san, he saved Sasuke's life. In case you didn't hear that part either. On top of that, he made the final kill that saw Gato himself dead, taking out his bodyguards over the water to do so. Kakashi went on without expounding. It was just the facts. Asuma laughed once more. This just keeps on getting better and better. No way, that's impossible, Ino said in a whisper, genuinely quiet for once. Shikamaru grinned lazily and sighed. That's a nice change of pace. She actually shut up for once, and good on you, Naruto. In front of the boy she liked, Hinata stumbled out, why yes, nice work, and Naruto-kun. She barely managed to keep from fainting. Kiba gave in and continued to throw a final jab, which Kurenai glared at him for. Ga, I guess you did alright for Adobe. As they approached the doors, he idly said, well, we should be on our way to see Sandame-sama Yane. The secretary said, Kakashi-sama, Uzumaki-san here to see Hokage-sama? She buzzed them in, and he said, yep. The old Hokage asked, the story being told in its entirety this time. Ah, nice to see that you were back and in one piece. Tell me, how did your team fare? Sarutobi waited until they were finished before asking any more questions. With the tone of a shinobi village leader rather than a kind elderly man, Sarutobi said, now I'd like to ask about this cipher blade that you acquired, Naruto-kun, as well as this new outlook on life. Gigi, when I found this sword, a message played when I came close. The guy begged whoever took this thing to fight for the same things he did, for justice, peace. What was right when I saw what was happening in Wave? I had just clicked this power the Yondaime entrusted to me. I want to use it to bring some good to the world because I know I can do it. Naruto responded with a firm and unwavering voice. Naruto, you realize that this may eventually bring you into conflict with this village. Whomever may be running it at the time may see you as an obstacle, one that will need to be eliminated. What will you do? Sarutobi asked. Kakashi was about to intervene and assist Naruto, but Sarutobi stopped him with a simple look. I see he wants Naruto to take responsibility for his actions, Kakashi speculated. This is just another test of his will, in the hopes that Naruto would discover the solution. I honestly don't know, but I know one thing. I know the Yondaime would do the right thing for everyone, not just the village, replied Naruto. Sarutobi questioned, and how would you know that? A dream. They came to me. He said I was his son, and my mom, Kushina, told me that doing the right thing with our powers as Jinchuriki will always trump the needs of one village. She said that Jinchuriki belonged to the world, not one person. Naruto responded, his words shaking Sarutobi to her inside. He knows, Sarutobi thought, dear Kami. Even though Naruto couldn't have known, he said, my old man told me that you have something he wanted me to have. It's in a special drawer where your pervy books are kept, that it has a house key and one of his special kunai inside it. Only he and the two people who passed away the night of his birth knew. I see, I can't lie to you anymore, since you now know the truth. Minato wanted me to tell you when I thought you were ready, and you were ready. I've only seen a look of such intensity on one man, and that was your father. Your mother, Kushina, truly felt the way you do, as did the woman who came before her, Mito-sama. They felt that they belonged to no one village or country, but they had a responsibility to the entire world to use their powers responsibly and properly. You truly have made this old man very proud of you. Sarutobi's stern expression fell away, actually had tears in his eyes. Kakashi, what do you have to say on this? He inquired. Having lost his teammates to battle, Kakashi lamented, honestly, I want to help him. We've already seen too much war in such a short time. 3 major shinobi wars in only a 70-year span is a bad record to set. As they wrapped up the briefing, Sarutobi remarked, I understand Naruto has chosen his path and understands the risks involved in such a massive undertaking. I see no reason to stifle or hinder him, although I am sad that he won't be taking this hat from me. He would have made a fine Hokage, like his father before him. However, there was still one last matter that needed to be worked out. Just before he died, Zabuza Momochi passed his kabikiri down to Naruto, but I'm not sure how Kiri would take that. What should we do? Kakashi inquired. Sarutobi muttered, The young genin had been given a great honor, but Momochi, a noob nin, wasn't sure how Kiri would handle one of their genin assuming possession of one of their 7 sacred swords. Keep it hidden for the time being and we will cross that bridge when we get to it. In the meantime, I would like for Naruto-kun to undergo swordsmanship training Kakashi. It would be best if we kept this knowledge under wraps, so I would like you to begin teaching him the basics of swordsmanship once he gets to a certain level. I will bring in Hayate or Yugo to teach him further, Sarutobi said at the end of the debriefing, but when you look at it, it was definitely very different. Now that I look at it, this is a very unique design. I know someone who can teach you how to use tonfa. One Tenshu Shimoto, he was once a weapons specialist and now owns a weapons shop near the tower here. Take this note to him and tell him that anything you require can be put on my personal bill also. It would be a good idea to make some wooden replicas of this weapon for training purposes, as not to damage the original, Sarutobi suggested as the two headed out of the area. Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. Gigi, hey Kakashi-sensei, wanna hit that place up after we're done here? Replied Naruto. I've got nothing better to do today, so we might as well get this done now. While we're thinking about it, we can grab some dinner afterwards, replied Kakashi. As Sarutobi looked at the portrait of the Yondaime and the Hokage who had come before him, the student and sensei both bowed to their leader before leaving. This boy is genuinely unique in a way that is beyond our comprehension. As he continued to puff on his pipe and returned to his paperwork, Sarutobi reflected, all I can do for him is to help illuminate his way through this uncertain world. The residence of Haruno Sakura, the daughter of a housewife and an accountant, salesman, was raised in a modest civilian home. Once, Daichi Haruno attempted to become a ninja, but he was never able to surpass Chunin. After leaving the shinobi corps, he remained on the active reserves and pursued a career in retailing, where he discovered his calling. He soon had a prosperous store, a wife, and a daughter. His daughter was only 6 months old on the night of the Kyuubi attack, but by a stroke of good fortune, their home was unharmed because the Yondaime were able to entice it away from the village and then seal it. He was one of 5 shinobi present that evening after being called back into temporary active service, so he was aware of the sealing and was in the right place at the right time to learn the truth. He even heard the part about parentage and realized that Naruto was a living prison for the demonic fox, which prevented it from influencing him but would eventually give the boy power. Shizuka Haruno, his wife, was a different matter with the exception of an uncle who survived both the Second and Third Shinobi Wars. She had a completely civilian upbringing. The tough old man was the family's black sheep, but even the Kyuubi attack couldn't destroy him. Tenshu, the son of Tenshi Shimoto, continued his father's legacy by participating in the Third Shinobi War and other conflicts, but we're getting off topic. The idea of her oldest daughter becoming a kunoichi made her physically ill, and she had little to no knowledge of ninja affairs. When her 6-year-old daughter, Natsumi, wanted to join because she saw a blonde boy, she became even more upset. She was aware that the demon container was the only blonde boy in the entire village. With all her heart, she detested the boy the night of the attack. She had lost nothing. She was easily carried away by the crowd, but her friends and family survived it. Her husband reprimanded her for her hatred of him, but she never paid attention. She was on the verge of complaining to the Hokage when she found out that Naruto would be her daughter's third teammate, but her husband dissuaded her instead. She merely allowed her oldest to despise him. Sakura exclaimed, "I'm home," from the Genkon, removing her sandals as only the person she wanted to see and the other person she wanted to see greeted her. Daichi inquired, "How was the mission, honey?" Natsumi, her younger sister with long, wavy pink hair, pleaded, "Did you bring me back something, One-chan?" As her older sister dropped her pack and started digging. As she distributed the gifts, Sakura muttered, "Here's some tea from Nami for Dad and some doll clothes for Natsumi. Handmade." The recipients adored the gifts, and Sakura shared her mission, flaws and all. "Wow, so your sensei really lived up to his reputation. I'm also glad you decided to start fresh with Naruto. That was very mature of the both of you," Daichi responded. She questioned, "Kakashi-sensei's that famous?" "Oh yes, he was a student of an old friend of mine, and a Junin when he was your age. He made a name for himself during the Third Shinobi War and now he's pretty famous, an A rank nin, almost S rank in my prime. I was a C rank at best." Daichi reflected, his daughters in awe. Daichi helped her prepare for the questions she would be asking by assuring her, "Now did something happen during the mission, dear? You know you can tell me anything?" "Yeah, a few things happened," she began, summarizing all of the contemplation she had been doing over the last few weeks as well as the revelations regarding her enigmatic blonde teammate. When her father's face darkened and his eyes took on a pained haze, her surprise reached its zenith. He said to his youngest, "Natsumi, honey, can you go upstairs for a moment, please?" She pouted as she ascended the stairs, saying, "Ah, but I wanted to hear about Naruto-senpai." As he listened, he reflected fondly, that girl, she really does admire him. He knew it was safe to speak after he heard her plop on her bed. Now this must never, never, leave this room, or the Hokage will kill us both without mercy. We were sworn to secrecy on the night he was born, the night of the Kyuubi attack. The reason why people hate him so much is because they believe that he is the Kyuubi reborn. But they aren't entirely correct. You see, the Yondaime gave his very soul to seal the demon into the boy on the night of his birth. His dying wish was that he be viewed as a hero for his role in saving us all. But someone misunderstood his methods and spread it to the villagers, hatred spreading like a plague. Many demanded his death that night, and it is nothing short of a miracle that he survived. Not having parents to protect him, the identity of his parents have been hidden and very few people know that information, your sensei being one of them. I suspect that is the only reason why I could see Kakashi being so adamant about having him on his team, although Naruto himself might not even know. Daichi explained, his voice low. Sakura was in shock at what she had learned. As soon as one mystery about him was solved, another one appeared. Nevertheless, despite the shock, her analytical mind continued to analyze the information presented, frantically filling in the blanks. She was terrified at the idea of carrying something so dangerous inside of her, but she was baffled as to how Naruto had maintained his composure over the years without losing it, simply because it must have taken a lot of willpower to make him smile. Her respect for him advanced significantly. Then she recalled an image of Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime Hokage he'd. It can't be a coincidence that Naruto has the same blue eyes and fiery blonde hair. The only difference is the shape of his eyes, which may have been inherited from his mother, whoever she was. Other than that, his face is essentially the same. How foolish of us, Kami, to have missed that. Furthermore, Naruto is the son of the fucking Yondaime, and Kakashi sensei, the only remaining student of the Yondaime, has demanded that Naruto join his team. She came to the realization, and her father could see it clearly. I see that you figured it out now. I ask that you shut this information away and do not reveal that to anyone. His father had many enemies, both within this village and outside of it. His main rivals were the Uchiha, whose late clan head he defeated for the right to become the Hokage. That would be Sasuke's late father, Fugaku. I knew him as well. Not that it was terribly pleasant. He regarded all of us that didn't have clan blood to be inferior, including Minato, since he was an orphan himself. He deeply resented Minato for taking what he believed was the Hokage position in the hand of Kushina Uzumaki in marriage. To be fair, Minato and Kushina were made for each other and everyone could see that they were extremely happy together, but he wasn't. However, no matter what he did or tried, she wouldn't leave Minato's side. He wound up marrying a nice woman named Mikoto, siring 2 sons, Itachi and Sasuke. Daichi wound down the tale, standing up with a grumble. That's about the limit of what I know. Like I said, lock this knowledge away and shut it in tightly. Just continue to be his friend as you have already started to be, and he will eventually open up to you. I'm sure he's already asked you this, but I will ask again. When put between a crush and a true friend, which will you choose? One comes and goes, but the other can last a lifetime. It's something you made before with your friend Ino, if you recall, her dad reminded her. She recalled that day she was devastated to return home after losing her best friend, but she hoped that she would eventually catch Sasuke and make the sacrifice worthwhile. Which is why she was almost entirely focused on the depressed Uchiha. It took this conversation with her father and almost dying on her first mission outside of Konoha's safety for her to realize that. I know I made a huge mistake trading my friendship with Ino over something that I don't think will last much longer. At this point all he cares about is power, and he doesn't care how he gets it. He even tried attacking Naruto, after Naruto saved his life, just because someone had proved to be better than him. It's something I don't want to spend my life with someone like that, Sakura told her elderly father. Using the name he had given her since she was a baby, he laughed and said, "You definitely inherited my brains, my little blossom." It was just another of his usual ways of showing his daughters how much he still loved them and to let them know how fortunate she was. "But Dad, won't Mom get mad at me for being friends with him?" she inquired. As her mother entered the room, he told her, "Don't worry about her, I'll take care of that. You just do what your heart tells you is right." Sakura ignored her and simply took her belongings up to her room and put them away so she could clean up, eat dinner, and sleep. "Oh, Sakura, honey, you're back. I don't know why I let you take up this profession, especially since you had to leave and stay alongside that ghastly Uzumaki boy." She was alerted to the presence of her younger sister Natsumi by a knock at her door. She said, "Sumi-chan, what's up?" The young girl asked. "One-chan, what really happened out there? Is there something wrong with Naruto-senpai?" "Sumi-chan, that's something I can't tell you without getting into a lot of trouble, but he's fine, better than before, actually, and before you ask, I don't hate him anymore. Don't really know why I even did in the first place." Sakura responded to her inquiries. Sakura found it both adorable and hilarious as the young girl exclaimed, He sometimes teaches us things that Iruka-sensei teaches in class about how to hide and set traps. Cool. I was wondering if you would play with me, Konohamaru-kun, Moegi-chan, and Udon-kun and play ninja with us. Sakura laughed to herself as she kept her sister on the brakes, saying, if he only knew that he had a 7-year-old fangirl he'd die laughing, if not embarrassment first. Sakura proposed, hey, we need to get washed up for dinner, okay? Sakura was now left to her thoughts as the girl chirped, okay, and took off like a shot. Okay, now that I'm able to think clearly, I must admit that my room is a little eerie. As she tore down the images of her soon-to-be ex-crush, she realized, all of these Sasuke posters and pictures need to go. That's better, huh? Since I came back, I'm treating my family better. Tsumi-chan's getting to be a real cutie. She'll be chasing boys away in a few years. But I never noticed because of Sasuke. My dad is full of useful advice. But my obsession with Sasuke made me blind to it. I think it's for the best letting go of that crush. She realized this while he was eating dinner. Depot of Shimoto weapon surplus. We have it if it slashes, stabs, crunches, or booms. On a case-by-case basis, store credit. After entering Tenshu Shimoto's store, Kakashi and Naruto discovered that it was a weapon freak's paradise. Neither Kakashi nor Naruto had ever seen the weapons on display before. Some had practical designs, while others, like a metallic shaft with a huge spiked ball on the end, just plain looked nasty and evil enough to make the T&I spooks shiver with delight. Kakashi muttered, phew, that'll come down like the fist of an angry god, but someone spoke up. A deep, manly voice said, yeah, but it's hard as all hell to use. When they turned around, they saw a big, strong man with soft brown eyes and hair who had numerous scars of various sizes. The big man looked at the little blonde next to him and teased, Kakashi, it's good to see you, kiddo. You in the market for a new pig sticker, or do you finally want to use a man's weapon? Oh ho. So you've got a student? Finally broke the tightwad down, huh sport? Naruto responded. Naruto questioned, are you Tenshu Shimoto? Tenshu greeted them triumphantly as he wound down. Damn right I am. Squirt. Welcome to the Shimoto Weapon Surplus Depot. If you want to do some real damage, we've got what you want. He said to them, so what brings you boys down here? However, Kakashi beckoned him to approach and said, I'm trying to get my student some tonfa, since he displayed an interest in them also. I don't know how to use them, so I was hoping you knew someone that did and could teach him. Don't worry, he already knows. So you must be Kushina's boy, probably every bit the hellion his mother was in her youth. Don't know how Minato managed to get a wild beauty like her. As meek as he was around girls, you don't seem like him though in looks, yes. But that attitude is all hers. Well, don't worry about a thing, brat. We'll fix you up nice. He laughed broadly as he called the boy return. He exclaimed, Oi, Tenten. We got customers. As a young girl who was just a year older than him emerged wearing a headband similar to his. She looked at the customers and said, a little irritated, what's up, Dad? I was working the forge with Gramps. She recognized one of the Junin as the well-known Sharingan Kakashi and the boy. I've seen you before in the academy, right? She asked. He shrugged and said, probably. I mean, I'm only one of the only blondes running around in the village. You're not a Yamanaka? She inquired doubtfully. She laughed at Naruto's sense of humor as he smirked and said, nope, if I was related to that shrew Ino, I'd have jumped off Hokage Mountain by now. As the adults looked on, she smiled as broadly as her father and smacked fists with her new blonde friend. You're alright, so, my old man says you want to learn how to use the tonfa? It's one of my favorite weapons. Since I kinda like you already, I can help you out, she said. Kakashi grinned and said, that kid, given a fair chance, he can make friends with almost anyone. Tenshi Shimoto's elderly but still well-muscled body was revealed as an elderly voice exclaimed, does my old heart good to see Mito-chan's relative making friends with my granddaughter? I think they'll get on fine since those Uzumaki were always a friendly lot. How are ya doin', Kakashi Bozu? You finally got brats of her own to train. One of 'em bein' your old teacher's kid? He inquired. Yeah, he's a healthy mix of both. His parents' kids damn crafty and stubborn as a goat like his mom, but he's got sensei's charisma, replied Kakashi. Tenshu inquired, how much are you guys going to be hauling away? A few pairs of training tonfa. Some training swords since I'll be teaching him swordsmanship myself, standard training weights, seals, the works. Kakashi went on. Tenchi asked, that's a lot of stuff, Bozu, how you gonna pay? As Kakashi produced the note Sarutobi had instructed him to give them. The elderly man turned to his granddaughter and grinned, saying, hey old Hiruzen's picking up the tab, eh? He's good for it. Oi! Round up everything on this list and charge it to the Sarutobi account, he said. As they departed to collect everything, the boy nodded in response to her question. Gotcha, Gigi. Come on, Naruto, wanna help? Tenshu said gravely. What's with the weird sword on his back, Kakashi? There was no danger in telling Tenchi Shimoto and his family, who were the most reliable in the village. They were there because Sarutobi knew them and had recommended them, according to Kakashi, who also described what transpired in Wave. Both of the elderly and highly skilled retired shinobi nodded in comprehension and mild admiration. So Zabuza actually gave his sword to the kid? That's a huge honor. Those Kiri swordsmen would bury themselves with their swords if they had to. That kid's got quite a future ahead of him, but I think he can do it. Kami knows he's got his mother's spunk. Tenchi grumbled. Yeah, that kid's got a rough road ahead of him, one that might make him an enemy of the village one day, depending on who the cage will be once old Sarutobi steps down. Tenshu concurred. I told him that heroes aren't heroes to everyone. Minato is a hero here, but to Iwa, his name is like a bitter insult. He said he'd push through it. Kakashi responded. As the two children had everything rung up and sealed into scrolls, Tenchi said, sounds like the kid's got it all under control. All he needs are the actual skills, now. As the teacher and student headed to get dinner before parting ways, the old man winked and said, since Sarutobi brought us so much business, we'll comp the scrolls and the training. Tenshu asked his daughter, you excited about getting to play sensei, Ten-chan? He recognized that tone from anywhere. Yeah, he's a funny guy, kinda smart, too, she said. It really caught him off guard because it came from his tomboy, wildcat daughter, who, as a child, believed that boys were weaklings and would beat them up like clockwork. She is currently a teenager who is developing into a stunning young lady who is becoming more and more like her mother, who passed away every day. Kisa, I believe our young daughter just developed her first crush on Minato and Kushina's boy. That's funny, isn't it? As they flipped the sign to closed for the evening and shut down the store for the night, he thought, laughing. Ichiraku Ramen. Both the teacher and the student arrived at Ichiraku Ramen, which is owned and operated by Tuchi Ichiraku and his daughter Ayame, and is one of Naruto's most frequented hangouts. Although their ramen was of excellent quality, the small ramen stand did not receive much business because the friendly old chef and his daughter were friendly to the resident Jinchuriki. With a little assistance from the Hokage and the business he and his clan brought them, they were able to make do with what they had. Tuchi waved the two of them inside after noticing they had landed just outside the curtain. Come on in, boys. Have a seat. Tuchi greeted the two and put them down. The old chef questioned, you've been gone for a while, boy, what kept you? Naruto exclaimed, I was on a mission for a while, as he and Kakashi informed the Ichirakus of what had transpired in Wave. What he was permitted to say, anyway. Ayame exclaimed, that's incredible, Naruto-chan, as she produced their bowls. Well, Naruto's cauldron and Kakashi's bowl. There, they ate their fill while discussing various topics until it was time to leave. Naruto, your training will be split between myself teaching you kenjutsu and building your ninjutsu arsenal, while the Shimoto's daughter teaches you to use tonfa. As for your taijutsu, I have to call in a favor, and since your element is wind, I call ask a fellow sensei to help out, since wind is my worst element. Kakashi summed up. Naruto questioned his recent boon, asking, Sensei, why are you doing all of this for me? Didn't those old bastards on the council want you to teach the teme? With Tuchi and Ayame understanding, Kakashi said solemnly, Naruto, since you know who your parents are, I think you should know who my sensei was. Among the few who were aware of Naruto's actual ancestry were the Ichiraku. Your father was my teacher. I once had a teammate that was almost exactly like you, a prankster, joker, dead last in his class. His name was Obito Uchiha, my best friend. He was very much unlike any other Uchiha that I'd ever met, but like I said, just like you. That saying I taught to you the day you became a team, that was his personal saying. This Sharingan I have, it was his, given to me upon his death after he died, and I learned that your mother was pregnant with you. I vowed that you would become my student, that I would teach you all I know, like your father did for me. You can say it's a legacy, you see. The Neodaime taught the Sandame taught Jiraiya of the Sannin, a dead last like you were. He then taught your father, who taught me, and now I'm teaching you, Kakashi acknowledged. It was too much for the boy to process all at once, but he did so gradually. He was the heir apparent to an illustrious lineage that dated back to the first two Hokages. As they left the establishment, Naruto muttered, wow, that's pretty intense. Since Tuchi and Ayame were aware that they should remain silent about what they had discovered there, they simply said goodbye for the evening before heading back to the rooftops. Naruto and Kakashi kept going until they arrived at Naruto's tiny apartment. Kakashi cautioned, I hope you're ready for this. According to Naruto, I'm always ready, sensei. Bring it on, with assurance. Kakashi flashed away, leaving Naruto to rest and reflect on the day's events. Good to hear. Naruto, I just hope you won't come to regret it. Future morning. The following morning, Naruto was excited to start training with his new friend Tenten. He quickly got out of bed, ate a quick bowl of cereal, got dressed, and left his house with his training equipment so they could meet at her father's gun store. After racing across the rooftops to the store, he arrived in a matter of minutes, hardly more than a blur, and saw his new friend and others waiting outside. He said, "I'm not late, am I?" He looked at the other people standing there and she said, "Nope, right on time." "This is my team. Starting from the right is Guy-sensei." The green unitard-clad person said, "Greetings, Naruto-kun." Next is Lee. Since his response is exactly the same as Guy's, we'll just skip that, it's frightening. And finally, there's Neji Hyuga. Hyuga scoffed and gave him a disinterested look, which slightly irritated the blonde. Naruto responded, "Cool, so what will we be doing today?" Guy fielded the question. "I am glad you asked. Kakashi-kun asked a favor of me in the form of tutoring you in taijutsu, and I have also been informed of the training agreement between you and Tenten. However, I have been informed of your ability to use the Kage Bunshin and its benefits. You can spar with myself and Lee-kun while you have clones learning forms from Tenten. Does this sound agreeable?" Guy inquired, without once mentioning youth, or any aspect of it. As they started to move, Naruto stumbled a little and said, "Why yeah, that sounds cool." Naruto learned more about this peculiar team along the way, including the fact that, in terms of organization, it was nearly a mirror image of his own. Tenten and Neji were the class's top male and female students, while Lee was the dead last of his year. Guy was an old wartime friend of Kakashi's, and the two occasionally participated in absurd competitions, with Guy currently in the lead. Taijutsu was Lee's only option because he was incapable of nin or genjutsu due to a birth defect that caused his chakra coils to shrivel up. That did, however, earn the badly dressed genin some significant points in his book because Lee persisted in trying despite numerous people telling him it was pointless. He saw a lot of striking similarities between Lee and himself, and his drive only strengthened his resolve. A voice interrupted his thoughts. "So I hear that you were the dead last of your class, just like this joke," Neji responded. "Yeah, so what?" was Naruto's straightforward response. Neji sneered as he continued, "Then you should not tempt fate. It had decreed that you will never be anything but a failure, and any attempts to fix that are useless." Murmuring, Naruto said, "Jerkos, don't mind him, he's always like that, but he's really strong, so be careful," Tenten cautioned. Naruto sighed and waved his hand dismissively, earning him a few points with the rest of Team Guy for his restraint. "Boss Sasuke's just like him, so that jackass won't bother me too much." Neji was waiting when the group arrived at the training grounds, but Guy spoke before he could respond. "Alright. Naruto-kun is here as a guest at the request of a good friend of mine. Kakashi Hatake Tenten has volunteered to teach him to wield tonfa, an often overlooked yet versatile weapon, while I will instruct him in a taijutsu style that would likely suit him," Guy said. Despite all of his quirks and eccentricities, Guy was a serious man who should not be taken lightly, even though Neji appeared to want to protest. He deserved every bit of his reputation as one of the world's greatest taijutsu masters and an S-rank shinobi in his own right, regardless of his chakra deficiency. Lee was rapidly growing to the point where he would no longer be able to compete with him because he was the fastest person he had ever seen. He made the sensible decision to remain silent. "Cool. Teach me," exclaimed Naruto as he activated his training weights. As he left with Guy and Lee, Naruto remarked, "Oof. That's heavy," but failed to observe that his footsteps were making indentations in the ground. Tenten simply shook her head, realizing that her new friend was as strange as everyone else she appeared to know. She then focused on the 50 shadow clones Naruto had left behind. As Neji watched, she called out, "Right, okay then, let's get started on the basic forms, shall we?" to get their attention and start their training session. Neji walked off in a huff, saying, "HMPH, if you are not going to help me train, I am leaving." Tenten moaned as they went over the fundamental forms and motions needed to master tonfa. That guy is the biggest baby. I swear I don't know what those fangirls saw in him." The real Naruto was being tested over with Guy. He had been scheduled to spar with Lee and was being thoroughly thrashed. Guy would correct Naruto's form after every spar, asking him to practice it a few times before re-performing it and offering a critique of the things he wanted to see improved in the next battle. Now, anyone who claimed that Naruto was a slow learner should undergo a full lobotomy with rusty tools from a Parkinson's patient who obtained their medical license from a cereal box. The learning curve for Naruto-kun is simply incredible. What has the academy been up to? He picks things up just as fast as Lee. They feel stigmatized by the title of dead last, which is unfair to them. They were unfairly ignored and suffered as a result of the academy instructor's incompetence and laziness. As he watched Lee take it slowly with Naruto, who was still getting used to the weights, Guy reflected deeply. Kakashi did the right thing by bringing his deficiencies to my attention and not letting pride get in the way. Lee cheered as he did so, helping his fellow dead last the way Guy-sensei had helped him. You are doing well, Naruto-kun. I will run over the next kata with you now. Lee said, seeing Lee and Naruto get along so well and two fellow dead lasts supporting each other warmed Guy's heart. The day continued until dusk, at which point Naruto realized that the Kage Bunshin training method had a disadvantage. Unfortunately, he learned the hard way that if too many clones spread out at once, the mental backlash would give him a splitting headache. He gave them a suggestion when Guy asked him if he wanted to go out to dinner with them after he had recovered. Naruto proposed, "Hey you guys wanna go get some ramen from this place I know?" Ramen sounds great, Naruto-kun, Guy exclaimed, turning to the team. With a powerful laugh, Guy yelled, "Off we go to the Ichiraku ramen bar to stoke our fires of youth." Lee was enthralled with the moment and summoned the evil genjutsu. Be careful, Tenten admonished, shielding Naruto's eyes to prevent scarring. Naruto questioned, "Is it really that scary?" As they also headed to the ramen bar, Tenten responded, "You do not want to know." Ichiraku bar of ramen. Naruto was the first member of the small group to enter the charming little ramen bar. Naruto yelled, "Oi, Tuchi Jii!" To get their attention, the staff welcomed their favorite customer inside with smiles. As Ayame went out to take their orders, Tuchi said, "Naruto-chan, who are your new friends?" As Naruto introduced them, a faint pink glow illuminated the girl's cheeks. "Oh yeah, Kakashi-sensei asked Guy-sensei to help me train a bit during our 3-day break. These are two of his students, Lee and Tenten-chan." Naruto said. Ayame, her big sister, sensed the tingling, but no one else did. "Oh my goodness, it seems like this girl likes him. She's adorable." Ayame laughed to herself as she and her father returned to the kitchen to begin preparing the meal while continuing their conversation. A trio had been returning from the bathhouse when one of them noticed a recognizable burst of blonde hair. As they continued their conversation, they were there because their home's water heater broke and he attempted to fix it himself, almost blowing up the house in the process. He gave in and agreed that they should spend the night at the bathhouse and that a repairman would come the next morning. "Naruto must be eating dinner because I recognize that blonde hair everywhere. This is one of his favorite spots in the village, based on what he told me," Sakura thought as she caught her father's eye. Sakura said to her father, "Hey dad, I'm feeling a little hungry. Think we could stop off for some ramen?" Since he would burn water if he attempted to cook, he thought, your mom's visiting her friends tonight, so why not? Be nice to catch up with Tuchi." Natsumi exclaimed, "Ramen," as they sat down at the bar and opened the flap. Having never seen her there before, he inquired, "Sakura-chan? You eat here, too?" With her younger sister peeking out from behind her, she told him, "Not really, but we went to a bathhouse earlier and we got hungry." "Naruto-senpai!" exclaimed the young girl, quickly taking the seat beside him. "Friends of yours, Naruto-kun?" Guy inquired, attracting Tenten's attention. As Guy greeted Daichi, Naruto said, "Oh, this is my teammate, Sakura Haruno, and her sister, Natsumi-chan." Guy said, "Daichi-san, I haven't seen you in a while." Daichi questioned Han, the elder Maida, "It has been a while. Guy-san, how is your father doing?" The one-armed veteran of the Second Shinobi War continued to perform handstand push-ups in his front yard every morning, demonstrating his commitment to maintaining his physical health on par with both his son and his own pupil. To the frightened little Natsumi, Guy bellowed loudly, "Oh, he is still youthful as ever." Tenten and Sakura both laughed at the adorable sight of the young girl clutching him in terror while blushing brightly. "Eek!" she squealed, glomping onto the blonde on her right, who sighed. Tenten said, "She really seems to like him." Sakura laughed as Guy calmed down at Naruto's request. The larger group dining together. "Yeah, I don't really know how it started, but she idolizes him. It's kind of funny that he has a 7-year-old fangirl." Sakura questioned, "So what are you doing with another team?" "Oh, they offered to let me train with them, so I took them up on it. Guy-sensei and Lee are beasts with taijutsu and Ten-chan's a genius with weapons," Naruto replied. In all honesty, she asked him, "But why though?" Her enigmatic teammate was like one enigma after another, but she had already solved a lot of his mysteries. Sakura could understand Naruto's reasoning when he said, "Well, after we got back from that mission, I thought that I should use this time to improve." Still keeping her promise to be friendlier with him, she answered, "Oh well, that shows a good work ethic. At least just be careful and don't take it too far, okay?" With a confident thumbs up and one of his big smiles, he assured her, "Hey, don't worry, Sakura-chan. I can handle what they dish out." The young girl beside him almost melted. When her father noticed his youngest's reaction, she giggled to herself, "Oh my, he really has no idea what effect he has on Sumi-chan." As they went on, Daichi thought softly, "Looks like she's got her first crush, and on Minato's son at that fate really is odd." After a successful training day, the group soon finished their meals and were bidding each other farewell, with Naruto leaving for home. Kakashi had been observing Naruto from a nearby building as he left for home shortly before dusk, thinking, training with those guys wasn't so bad." As he turned to go home, Kakashi muttered with a smile, "Looks like he's taking to it fairly well, just like I knew he would." However, an Anbu appeared in front of him. A purple-haired Anbu told him, "Kakashi-senpai, the Hokage and the council want you to see them." He questioned, "Really, now what could they want?" She responded, "I don't know that, but I'm guessing it has to do with Uzumaki-kun." As they executed a body flicker in tandem. Council chambers of Konoha, one man snarled impatiently, "When will he get here, Sarutobi?" Sarutobi scowled at the lack of consideration this man was displaying. As the civilian side moaned, Sarutobi bluntly responded, "When he gets here, Councilman Kitamura." However, there was a knock on the door. As they were called inside, a voice said, "Kakashi is here, Hokage-sama." Another council member, the plump and obese Gasho Tojoan, sneered, "Finally another minute later and we would be pushing for your demotion, Hitaki." When Sarutobi called the meeting to order, the shinobi in the room laughed at his threat, realizing he had no right to do so. Despite his disagreement, Sarutobi read aloud, "Now this meeting was called to question the teaching ability of one Kakashi Hitaki." Kakashi said nonchalantly, "Really, I was under the impression I was doing a wonderful job if the dead last has improved so much under my watch." The shinobi laughed, but the civilian council was furious. With Kakashi's eye narrowing, Councilwoman Mira Kagutsu yelled, "You know damn well what we are talking about, Hitaki. You are under strict orders to teach the Uchiha heir only. We must have the Sharingan revived and see to it that he is kept satisfied, or he might go to another village. On top of that, we demand to know where the Uzumaki brat got his hands on a weapon of such power. Uchiha-sama has demanded that the weapon go to him to help him in his ambition." Kitamura replied smugly. Thus, Sasuke lodged a complaint with the council. "Damn that brat," Kakashi said, mentally snarling. "I take it that Uchiha-san has come running to you, having been denied what he wants. Well, that sword will never belong to him nor anyone else, since the weapon has imprinted itself upon Uzumaki-san. It will allow no one else to even touch it. On top of that, if he tries to go to another village, his head comes off, just like any other traitor." Kakashi said this coldly, but before they could say anything more, he spoke again. With his lone eyes staring at them, Kakashi challenged them to think of an explanation. "And another thing, you actually have the nerve to demand that I ignore my other students? Under whose authority?" he asked. With his jowls flapping in disgust, Gasho yelled, "Well, we can vote on it, and if we have the majority vote, you will do as we say." Inoichi Yamanaka reminded them, "That's if the vote turns your way." Sume Inuzuka went on, "And I don't really see that happening." One of the elders, Homura, proposed, "Well, since this is a hotly debated topic, I say that we should just vote on it." Similar to Kaharu, he was typically impartial on all issues pertaining to the Jinchuriki, but he would step in if something drastic or stupid occurred. In addition to demoting one of their most renowned and powerful shinobi, these stupid civilians sought to impede the development of their next weapon. The boy was taking his shinobi training seriously, almost religiously, according to what they could tell from Sarutobi, and he might even surpass both of his parents in strength under Kakashi, his father's lone remaining pupil. Instead of repressing this, it was necessary to promote it. To their chagrin, he and his former teammates voted against the civilians this time. Kaharu declared, "This matter has been decided." The vote is 8-4 in favor of Kakashi carrying on at his discretion. However, they were cut off by another voice. "I see that the vessel has been taking the initiative in its training. I move that he be given to me, so that I may form him into the prefect weapon," said Danzo. "No, that is something I will not even discuss. Naruto-kun's progress under Kakashi has been nothing short of phenomenal, making me question the competency of our academy instructors. I will not allow you to take him and make him into a lifeless doll that only listens to you," Sarutobi gasped. Danzo responded sharply, "You are being emotional and foolish. Hiruzen, a weapon has no need for emotions. That weapon is a young boy, who had no control over what was done to him and who has been hated for something he never even knew until a few months ago. It's a damn miracle that he hasn't snapped and gone berserk, like so many other vessels have done before. Soon his own vessel was turned into a stone-cold killer, killing enemy and allied shinobi alike with no remorse. You idiots nearly created a self-fulfilling prophecy." Sume Inuzuka growled, her maternal instincts taking That thing harbors the creature that nearly wiped us off the map that night. It must be kept weak so we can kill it, Gasho screamed. Enough! Roared Sarutobi, his murderous intent filling the room and even causing Danzo to shudder, a sour reminder of why Sarutobi was selected to be Hokage rather than him. This discussion is over. We will adjourn now, and you will not countermand my orders. If you do so, death will seem like a release. I will remind you here and now that my power and authority here is not purely political. Sarutobi cautioned, warned, not threatened. Gasho sneered as they all filed out of the room, leaving the two elders behind. Good day, Hokage-sama. Homura inquired, Kakashi, how is his training coming along? Well, they praised Kakashi's use of cross-training with other teams after he discussed some of the specifics of Naruto's training. A sensei must learn to use all resources available. I trust the Haruno girl has changed herself, as well? A sharp mind such as hers is wasted in a mere fangirl, Kaharu asked. She's making progress. She stood up for Naruto against Sasuke and the two seem to have bonded on a friendly level. This mission in Wave has helped them both grow exponentially, Kakashi clarified. As the two elderly counselors bowed and left the room, Homura said, then, save for young Sasuke, you seem to have things well in hand. We shall leave things to you. As he left the room to head home, where he and his Icha could feel more at ease, Kakashi thought, I'm glad that's over for now. Now to deal with Sasuke, he could become a real problem in the future, not just for the team, but for the village as a whole if he doesn't change his ways. As he headed home, he laughed and said, Ooh Yumika, you naughty little minx.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.